In addition to the final report, the January 6th committee has now released reams of transcripts from witness testimony they gathered throughout their investigation. Yesterday, they made public 2 more interviews conducted with one of their star witnesses, Cassidy Hutchinson, former aide to Donald Trump's chief of staff, Mark Meadows. During one of those meetings in May of this year, Hutchinson revealed that she saw her boss burning documents in the fireplace of his West Wing office. She told committee vice chair Liz Cheney she saw Meadows do this, quote, maybe just over a dozen times between December of 2020 and mid-January of 2021. And while the committee did not issue a criminal referral against Mark Meadows, it certainly raises more questions about his potential legal culpability. Danya Perry is the former New York State Deputy Attorney General, former federal prosecutor. Carol Lamb is a former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of California, and they both join me now. There's a lot that's really fascinating about this transcript. Danya, maybe I'll just start with you on the sketchiness, for lack of a more specific legal term, of Mark Meadows. And particularly the burning stuff in fireplaces. My wife worked in the White House. I've known many people through the years who worked in the White House. You know, when you work at a foreign embassy that's about to, like, change hands, you got a burn bag. If you're a spy, you have a burn bag and you burn documents. You don't do it in the White House as a general rule. It does seem like an enormous red flag, or am I overreading things?
No, I think you're spot on. I think sketchy here is a legal term of art for this conduct that we've seen. And I agree with you. I've been on vacation with my kids, but this has been a page turner for me. And this incident, or this series of incidents, Cassidy Hutchinson said there were about a dozen during the relevant time period, is shady, to use another legal term. It's certainly not protocol, and that on top of some of the other conduct to which Ms. Hutchinson and others testify, you hear these meetings that were kept top secret, and various communications that have not seen the light of day. Mark Meadows, who managed to skirt a contempt indictment. But you see a lot of furtive conduct, and at the center of it all, of course, is Mark Meadows. And a few of these incidents, these page burning incidents, happened after meetings with Scott Perry, who also is at the intersection of many iterations of what the committee calls a multi-pronged conspiracy. And so that raises questions too, for sure. And Scott Perry, of course, is a sitting member of Congress who had his cell phone seized by the FBI, which is also highly unusual, requires a tremendous amount of process to get that. So clearly, both of these gentlemen are in the sights, if not the crosshairs, of DOJ, and now going to be in the sights of the special counsel. So I think this was very telling, very riveting testimony that was revealed in these.
The Scott Perry point, I think, is an important one. We just showed him. He's a sitting member of Congress from Pennsylvania. The FBI has confiscated his phone. And, reading this, it does give you a sense of what they may be after. Hutchinson says that between 2 and 4 times he had Mr. Perry in his office right before. This is him burning documents. You know what Mr. Perry was talking about, Ms. Hutchinson, election issues, and that each time the fireplace goes off with the documents being burned, which, again, seems like a little bit of a red flag. The other thing that comes through in this testimony, Carol, to me, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this, is the level of candor from Ms. Hutchinson versus what you might be getting from other people who are ostensibly cooperating. There's a huge space between cooperating with a lawful subpoena, grudgingly, not pleading the fifth, but cooperating and telling everything you know. And Hutchinson seems to stand out because she does the telling everything you know. But I'm not sure that was true for a lot of the witnesses who they either subpoenaed or, quote unquote, cooperated. What do you think?
Yeah, when Donna says this was a page turner, it really was for me. And the part that was really the page turner for me was listening to Cassie Hutchinson talk about, quote, Trump world, and how Trump world were the only attorneys who came and offered her basically free representation. She didn't have the hundreds of and thousands of dollars that it takes to hire a good attorney to represent her in these hearings. She looked, and finally she had to go against her instincts and sign up with attorneys who represented Trump world. And they came and did everything they could to make her say, I don't recall, I don't recall, I don't recall, and limit her testimony to the most innocuous types of things. And she struggled and struggled with her own conscience until she finally, astonishingly, backdoored her own attorney and gave information to the committee, and then ultimately fired the attorneys from Trump World who had been trying to arrange jobs for her and such. And then as soon as she did that, everything on that front went silent. It was a real expose of what Trump World was doing to try to keep witnesses in line.
Let me follow up on that, because I totally agree that the sort of corrupt managing of the information here through these attorneys, is that common in your experience? If you've got a powerful defendant who can hire legal protection, is this the kind of thing that happens? Like, we'll give you our lawyer and they'll sort of manage the information flow, or was this new as you saw it in the document?
There's a lot of misunderstanding about that area of the law. So just the mere fact that someone else pays for your attorney is not in and of itself a crime or a problem. In fact,
of course not.
Say New York state law says if you work for a corporation, the corporation has to pay for your attorney if it involves a matter that involves your work at the corporation. It doesn't mean that you're being bought off or your attorney is being bought off. But once that happens, the attorney has to pay special attention to the fact that his or her loyalties lie only with his or her client, not with the person paying the bills. And that was completely lost in this situation. And what Cassie Hutchinson says is, it became clear to me that my attorney never had my best interests at heart. My attorney had, at best, a divided loyalty, and in fact, was just looking out for the Trump world.
If you get a chance, you can access that testimony online, and it really is a riveting reading. Danya Perry and Carol Lamb, thank you both.